Hello, I am here writing and talking about what I am going for. And I'm doing this so I can just be putting it out there. Because I've been holding on to it for a couple of reasons. Just thinking, I write this down. Thinking I need it all done, slash, I am not enough. And then someone taking it. Whatever that means. It kind of meant like me making so much money off this, or control, or whatever, and someone else having that attachment to it. And so it's just attachment. So what am I talking about? I guess. So actually, before we get into that, let's just talk about what I just wrote down. So thinking I need it all done, thinking I needed this product per se, this system, this idea all done was similar to me not being enough. And really working through being enough has let me work more on the thinking I like on this project, as well as realizing that I don't need it all done and that am enough. And this was like a big one, being thinking I'm enough, because then I could overcome attachment. I'll write this down. So I am enough breaks attachment. Because having the I am enough what else do I need? What else do I need? So then why am I attached to anything? And that's kind of like from the perspective of realizing it after hearing so many people be like, just talk about attachment and how it brings you down and how it's all that stuff. And also feeling that specific attachments where they're making up for something. And just seeing that over and over and over again and breaking some big attachments. I'll write that down. Let me grow and realize what I was talking about. So all attachments are for making up something that I believe I lack. And now I'll say that how that was kind of like external reality making up for an internal reality. The same is for these lessons and me being able to work on the project, and now me just bringing it out there. And now as I'm seeing it in my life, I just feel it connected to places in my life and opportunities in my life where I can grow it naturally and not have to be attached to it because I'm giving it. And so I'm not keeping this in like a codex. a code. I'm not keeping this between me and ChatGPT and what's that thing called? A window processor. Whatever. I was using Notepad actually for a lot of it. Processing the code, whatever code I was using that GPT was helping me with, basically doing it all, but keeping it there and keeping it until it's enough, but it'll never be enough. And that's the trap. I don't know that. And realizing that through what I was talking about lets me grow it naturally in my life. And I think this is a place to do that. And as well, this has to be like the last thing I talk about, but before I talk about what the thing is, but it's just being grateful for YouTube. Being able to put something out there like this and express myself, because express myself and my thinking, really like my awareness in a raw sense, which is just beautiful, and thinking about people being intertwined with it as I get intertwined with my own writing and other people's raw creative intellect and self and awareness is invigorating. And doing that myself is awesome now, because as well, YouTube is holding space for you. This video holds space for me. I'm being listened to if someone's watching this. Similarly to when you're talking to someone because you're upset and you just don't want them to say anything. And I can also just interact with you like anything, because I can imagine you to be anything, and it's really just a reflection of myself I'm talking to who will accept me. And when I feel myself being nervous, like a genuine listener, I wrote that this video holds space for me like a genuine listener, and then this genuine listener is just a reflection of me. So, just like in life, really, because everyone's just a reflection, but on this scale, on this model as well, particularly, or just how it is. So this video holds space for me like there's a genuine listener. This genuine listener is just a reflection of myself. And then so if I feel anxious of how I express myself, it's really just a reflection of myself, of what my internal reality is. Like, where is this anxiety in my internal reality? It's just, yeah. And, so I was trying to go from, like, large to specific and showing how it does that, but that's just such a use case scenario, based on when I say something that I'm like, I kind of feel anxious, or watching that first YouTube video I posted and being like, ooh. But it's just me learning about myself, really. I'd like to read my own notes. Okay, so I'd like to read my own journals that I've been writing. I have 2 full books now, and I'd like to read through those. I'd like to do a YouTube. The whole YouTube thing is about that. YouTube vids about that. And that's probably like the first constellations I'm gonna post. And that is what I am making. And that's the project. Constellation. I call it Constellation. Because of how it kind of looks. So this has been something that is important to me, because part of my growth has been like the ability to conceive a resolution or a hypothetical that suffices me has been important. And I think now I'm transcending that in really feeling it, rather than having to create a system that I'm aware of or have the ability to conceive with my own mind, instead of meditating, which like is indescribable but yet suffices the thoughts, because feelings and thoughts are separate. And going behind the thoughts. So we're going behind the thoughts. Thoughts are the top ocean waves, and the meditation brings me down beneath the waves, and just it's a fulfilling, and it's an awareness, and everything just wants that. And the awareness and fulfillment, just holding all those thoughts, provides infinite contextualness and detailedness. So I don't have to manually conceive of, my mom does this a lot. She's like, well, maybe that driver is like pregnant and that's why they're like speeding to the hospital right now. And it's like, I don't even want to have to go through that. Like, I just have a healthy indifference, that's the word. A healthy indifference to like everything if I want to. Not everything though. Like, well, that's my process. I'm working on that. But now it's just like, I am healthy and happy. So who cares about that person driving? And yet I care about them. They don't need an excuse. I accept them. They don't need an excuse. I accept you. Yes. Okay. So I wish I wrote some notes down, because I don't really know where I am now. But oh yeah, because I had to conceive of things to take refuge from. So I had to conceive situations I could take refuge in. And I'll probably have to watch that again, because that was awesome. And then And so part of that process of conceiving situations I could take refuge in was looking at arguments and conceiving a wholeness that would just absorb all of the language that was being thrown, however angry, and it could just tap into that angry feeling and just give them a knowing understanding. And that's probably why that's a big part of why I'm on this path. Because now this knowing understanding is enjoyed by me. It's not a vain visualization that I was throwing onto things or other people, or even myself to be for other people through drugs. That it was just like being able to control the way I feel and escape. So maybe want to conceive a knowing understanding, which is no longer faint to me, through meditation. A process of it. I guess forever student right here. So, and then, so yeah. And no longer is faint to me through meditation. Is a statement I am working through and already am. Just some acknowledgement that I am even more than that right now. So, yeah, some acknowledgement that I'm growing. So it's no longer faint to me through meditation, but it was faint. It was faint, and I tried finding it in my codependency with others, looking to show it in myself and see it in others, and always make room for it to appear and save the day. Okay. And then also drugs. Alk, escape, cocaine, same thing. Escape and controlling feelings. Numbness. Okay. So yeah, that's a pretty good picture of it. And so those were a couple places I looked for it, and moving through these, moving through the drugs, and the codependency led me to myself. Due to the same nature that led me there. I just stopped looking for it externally. Or rather, I started looking for it more internally and found success. And so now we're back. I guess, yeah, we're kind of already here. And we're talking about conceiving situations I could find refuge in. Specifically arguments. So conceiving and knowing, understanding. And I guess that was kind of through like the feeling side, finding the feelings inside me, like, through the drugs and the codependency. And now like the meditation. Those like, the codependency and drugs was like quasi inside, because it would make me feel things, but it wouldn't make me feel the right thing. And meditation is not the quasi, it's the inside that gets me to feel the right thing. So then now the different thing I'm going to talk about is it external. So the external. Yeah, because it's a little confusing now, because how I said I was trying to find that feeling through the external, but I don't know how to explain it through that pathway, but I'll just then stop describing it and just talk about it. So basically then, just like logically trying to find a solution. Oh, okay, I see where this is going now. So logically finding a solution / logically finding my refuge. And so this is kind of fun now, because we're talking about arguments still. And we can talk about like how I how I still view arguments and always did on this path, or it was a big part of it, was how arguments are conversations about whatever conversation's about, they're like about something. They're about something. I wanted to say like their logic and verse. So I basically wanted to say arguments were just like talking about logic, but then there's feelings, and then we're not talking about the feelings appropriately, or not even at all, And then so the feelings just like feel invalidated because the feelings are hiding behind someone's logic. And as they're talking to somebody else, and maybe they're not upset, or they are also upset and they're not expressing that appropriately, they're putting it behind their logic. So then the logics, because if the logics are just bashing against each other and they're not really logic, they're just feelings. So if someone else doesn't have the unregulated feelings, they're approaching this logic with logic, and the other person's feelings hidden behind the logic does not make sense. And so then the person using the logic is like trying to make sense of that, and that leads to them really invalidating the person who's hiding their feelings behind logic. And so then me seeing that, it was just like making me want to conceive of something perfect that could just eat it all up. It could just hold it in space and let it be. Because the whole thing too is that like that is real for them. Like they do think that logic is their feelings and their feelings is that logic, and it's all bundled up and it needs to just be unraveled. And what hurts it is rushing it is like anything. What I feel like what I just described is just everything that we have. So many things are balled up like that. So many, like this project, as I'm talking to you about how I had to overcome personal personal growth to be able to be here today and share this with you and work on it beforehand. I had to go through personal growth. It was all balled up and I couldn't rush that. And I realized how I was rushing it and or addressing it in a way that would upset it. And that's crazy if you think about that. How many things are being hidden behind other things and just being addressed inappropriately? And now I'm talking about awareness. Because you can think about so many things of like, this needs to be addressed like this, though, for consequences to happen. That's like the entire thing about philosophy. Like, not philosophy, but like, you run into that problem all the time with ethics because you're trying to get down to it. And that's what religion is about too. You're trying to get down to it because it seems like there's no answer. It's just insufficient. And that's why I'm so happy I'm meditating, because it's providing stillness and that awareness that can hold things in whatever stage it is. It just holds it. And that's what it needs, because it often just needs to be. And when it's inside a person, the person is needing to be heard. And just as simple as how I started this by saying that this is like when you're having a bad day and you just want to talk and not hear a response. I just need this to be held in space, in awareness, because it's being addressed inappropriately. I'm thinking of movement and being stuck. How can I describe how something is held appropriately in so many different ways? The infinite ways of just awareness. That is what I can say. How many things are being addressed inappropriately? All the time. And that, as I was saying, I'll backtrack. It's a little bit ago, as I said, now I'm talking about awareness. I'm talking about how it's addressed inappropriately compared to it being acknowledged. Because now I'm thinking about how this comes up in day to day and how there is the solution of just like how this is manifested, like in talking and just being listened to. And I'm also thinking of just kids, just like a tantrum or me doing drugs. It's an insatiableness that needs fulfillment. And so you could think about what those words mean to you, but there's an insufficientness that needs fulfillment. So I should write this down. There's an insufficientness. There's an insufficientness that needs fulfillment. Okay? And so there's an insufficientness because our mind keeps wanting more. And where can fulfillment come from? Inside, at the heart, the body, the mind, being rested. Not that yet. Rather, just awareness. When you're bringing yourself to feel closer to awareness, which is the point of my meditation, to get to awareness, pure awareness. And you feel that. And I know that, well, how is anybody alive since, like, people talk, since, like, I don't even have pure awareness with me all the time, but I do, but I'm just not aware of that. How can that be? And so, and now it's just like how the externalness is mirroring that, or a manifestation of that, in my awareness, being aware of you talking about your bad day. I'm listening. And now we're talking about that. Okay. I think I said it. I've been recently thinking like, okay, once I go in a circle a couple times, then that's when like I reach the limit of wherever I'm going. Like I've gone far enough. And so I did this. Let me just write down the time so I know. Okay, so then so I saw this mismatch, and it's funny now because it's like, sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. Yeah. Okay, so I saw simply the argument is defined by goes from a conversation to an argument when there's feelings behind logic. Or rather, not like logic, but like you're talking about a system or you're talking about something and it's changing because of your perception is impacted by feelings and those not being understood or aware of is what inflates it and what keeps inflating it because it is inflated because I'm not aware of them or I refuse you to be aware of them. And if you're not aware of them, you're going to keep addressing me that this is my logic. And I should see how my logic is wrong. But it's the feelings, and feelings can't be wrong. So then I'm like getting even more upset because I'm even more poked and prodded and inappropriately, what was I saying? What did I say earlier? Inappropriately dealt with or something like that? Yeah, just inappropriately interacted with. And so I was like, let's just look at it. Let's all take a step back and look at it. Let's take a step back and look at it, which is awesome because we're all minds. We are all just awarenesses. We are all awarenesses watching our mind. Watching our minds. So, in cognitive behavioral therapy, just watch it. Just take a step back from it. So, and then let's take a step back from it and analyze it. And how can we do that? With putting it down somewhere physically and agreeing on it and working with it. Just like a good conversation does with someone who's understanding and leaving space for you. So let's physically do that. Like, let's like create a physical space and like physical representations of this. And then we can point at it for people who don't learn to take a step back in their own heads. Let's learn to just hold it physically. And so let's write about it. Let's write it down. But like I was thinking bigger than that. I was shooting for the stars. No pun intended with constellation, but commonly agreement. I always thought something that tripped me up was like, this can be done with everyone, because I guess there's something else I dealt with, was just like, it only made sense if it was for everyone. And so as I was conceiving logical refuge, it had to be universally. It had to be. I enjoyed it being universally accepted and used. And so there was a different type of syntax I was imagining, of just like using art and images and organization and an intuition, much like how easy it is to navigate the brain, and how agreeable we are to certain structures, and how we forget to look at them. So yeah, just that split of feelings and logic. And here's the logic. Let's agree on the logic. Oh, there's something over here. What is that? What is that? What is that? That's exactly like the persona I use, or the playful, I can't think of a word better than interrogation, but it's not interrogation, it's approach, the playful approach I aspire to use at my work. When I see this, what I see, it's like, I'm like, well, this happens usually, so why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? So then this right here, this is the logic. So then this is held and addressed. And then boom. What's that movie? Interstellar. Explosion. So many things. How can I physically organize the world with organization and culmination and agreement and democracy and understanding and intuition and beauty and ease and tangibility and use and efficiency and creativeness and ability to be creative with it and work pieces and podcast art I thought of making, like, not music videos, but artwork that involved not data structures, but like concepts, like a map, like an organization with art. Those two things coming together. And that just leaves it open. And just being able to agree on something. Because I saw it a lot for self-help and getting myself to do things, but that still doesn't do it. Like, just right, like, it helps, but I'm still not a schedule person. I take it as it comes, and I find happiness and joy in that. But I still think of just like literally making like my room, like, or just it, because it's like the marriage of that with like writing down like good mantras to say to yourself, and like structure. Because like you can be the plant growing, but you can also be the plant that takes some water and fucking throws it on you. You know, like both of those things are real, and that's a beauty that we all commonly experience. And so I couldn't just force myself to be inside of a structure that looked good from the outside and had all these different things, and there's art around it, and I wrote about it, and it makes sense, and I could do it every day. It fits the 24 hours of the day. It fits in between 8 a.m., 8 p.m. It accomplishes these goals if I do them, that I also wrote down, which is all logic. Um, and so now I'm just getting to like the well of the mind. And so like the well of the mind, the infinite source, but like where like whatever that is, not like pure consciousness infinite source, but just the infinite source, like whoever it is waking up on a day to day, your mind just thinks. It is always thinking. So you could just deal with that, or you could like have a physical presence somewhere and dump it on you. Like have some water and dump it on you. Learning. Like it's just like I hope that first metaphor made sense, because everything like after that I'm thinking of just like requires me changing the metaphor and the dichotomy a little bit to make that make more sense. Which I think means it's a good metaphor, and I just leave it as that. So yeah, so then me thinking through that and being like, okay, well, I can't just be what I create. Like I have these thoughts that are just always happening, and I have to be able to accept them and accept who I am and everything that means, and work through who I am and what my mind's thinking day to day. For some reason that was like sacred in a misguided way, of the same reason I misguided pure consciousness, like or fulfillment with drugs, that feeling of fulfillment with drugs, that like representation of it, and going at that misrepresentation because I didn't know better. The same reason I was just like had like a misrepresentation of sacredness of who I am. And so like the who I am was my mind, that I thought, and I thought that was sacred, and all the thoughts that happened. And so I was like worshiping all these thoughts, but I was so attached to all these thoughts that they just all built up and got backed up. Mind constipation. That's funny. And so then I got out of my head, and thoughts are just thoughts, now. There's a completely different view of them. Some people are saying they can just tune into different thoughts like radio frequencies, because it's just how you feel, and then your mind's like interpreting that, or you're like a Wi-Fi signal, and you're tuning into a Wi-Fi signal of thoughts on the frequency that your being is on, lower or higher. I don't know enough, yet I am comfortable with a detachment and healthy indifference to thoughts, and the paradox of feelings and thoughts and working together, the dichotomy of them, structure and flow, structure and flow, structure and flow, structure and flow. It's huge for me. The mighty river still needs, with the swirling rapids, still needs its shores, because if it didn't have its shores, it'd just be a bunch of water spread out on like dew on plants and be in puddles and yeah, which still doesn't sound bad, but the metaphor, it's just a metaphor. And so then it became structure and flow. So hopefully now, like I'm just going through like my growth with this in my heart and how this is coming about. And I want to talk more about it, but I'm so tired. I think this will be a part 2. Good night, everyone. I love you all. Thank you. I'm so grateful for you. It's just like, I don't know what to say, but now I just like to hold this moment in awareness.